Have you ever worked your fingers to the bone for years only to look at your bank account and feel like you're running in place? That was Sam. At 27, he was stuck. He worked hard, he didn't waste money on silly things, yet his life felt like a flat tire, going nowhere fast. But then, one random afternoon, he did something that would rewrite his entire future. He walked through a gate he wasn't supposed to enter, and on the other side of that gate sat a man who would give him the blueprint to everything. You might think wealth is about luck or a big inheritance, but what if I told you it's actually about 5 simple rules, rules that schools never teach you? Today, we're going to follow Sam's journey and uncover those secrets, and by the end, you might just see your own money in a completely different light. Sam lived in a town that buzzed with activity, but his life felt silent and still. One evening, while walking home, he passed by a massive mansion he'd seen 1,000 times. But this time, something was different. The iron gate was slightly ajar. Without thinking, almost as if pulled by an invisible force, Sam slipped inside. His heart pounded. What was he doing? He was just about to turn back when he spotted an elderly man sitting peacefully on a bench, holding a cup of coffee. This was Mr. Hayes, the owner of the mansion. Sam froze, but before he could bolt, Mr. Hayes looked up and offered a gentle smile. Embarrassed, Sam approached and apologized for trespassing, but Mr. Hayes just waved it off. He could see the weight on Sam's shoulders. "Come, sit with me," he said, and just like that, a conversation began that would change everything. Sam poured his heart out. "Sir, I've worked for 5 years. I earn a decent wage, I don't waste money, but I'm exactly where I started. How do people like me become wealthy?" Mr. Hayes took a slow sip of his coffee, the steam curling into the evening air. Then he looked at Sam with eyes that held decades of experience. "Anyone can build wealth, Sam, but you can't build a house without a foundation. Let me give you the 5 pillars that hold up financial freedom. Listen closely." The first rule, he said, is the hardest for most people to truly master. Spend less than you earn. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But if it were easy, everyone would be rich. Mr. Hayes explained it like this. Imagine you earn $5,000 a month. The goal isn't to see how much you can spend, but to see how much you can keep. At least $2,000 should be set aside immediately. If you earn $3,000, you save $1,000. It doesn't matter if you make $1,000,000 a year. If your expenses always creep up to meet your paycheck, you will always be broke. This isn't about deprivation, it's about discipline. It's the rock-solid base upon which everything else is built. Sam nodded, already doing the math in his head. He realized he had been leaking money without even noticing it. But Mr. Hayes wasn't finished. He leaned forward and shared the second rule, which is like a shield for your finances. Build an emergency fund. Life, he said, has a way of throwing curveballs. Your car breaks down, the roof starts leaking, or suddenly you're handed a pink slip. Without a safety net, you're forced to make desperate choices. You borrow money at high interest or sell your things for pennies on the dollar. But with an emergency fund, money set aside just for the unexpected, you can handle these storms without sinking. It's not about if something will happen, it's about when, and being prepared means you stay in control. Sam felt a light bulb flicker on his mind. He had always reacted to problems, never prepared for them. But then Mr. Hayes moved on to the third rule, and this one really opened his eyes. He called it investing in yourself. Sam thought investing meant buying stocks or starting a business, things that felt scary and risky. But Mr. Hayes explained that the absolute best investment, especially when you're starting out, is in your own skills. If you're a plumber, become the best plumber. Learn how to market your services, understand where to buy materials for less, or take a course on running a small business. Use your time and a little bit of your savings to sharpen your tools, your brain, and your hands. This investment has no risk of crashing. It only appreciates in value. Sam felt a jolt of excitement. He had been working for money, but he had never made his money work for him by making himself more valuable. Mr. Hayes saw the spark in his eyes and gave him the fourth rule. Now that you're skilled, it's time to earn more. When you become an expert, you stop trading your time for a fixed hourly wage. You start getting paid for the value you create. Maybe you start your own business. Suddenly, your income isn't capped at 40 hours a week. The harder you work and the more value you provide, the more the universe seems to pay you back. You're no longer a cog in a machine, you're the engine. The sky was turning a deep orange and purple, but Sam was glued to the bench. He could feel the final piece of the puzzle about to click into place. Mr. Hayes looked at him, a twinkle in his eye. And finally, he said, the fifth rule is to create passive income. This is the ultimate destination. You've spent less than you earn, you've built a safety net, you've invested in yourself, and you've increased your income. Now you have extra money. It's time to make that money your employee. You can invest in property, buy a small franchise, or look into other ventures that pay you while you sleep. This is how wealth grows on its own. But remember, this only works if you've mastered the first 4 steps. You have to walk before you can run. Sam sat back, stunned. For years, he had been working hard but working blind. He had been hoping for wealth to magically appear, like winning a lottery he never bought a ticket for. But now he saw it clearly. Wealth wasn't a mystery, it was a path. It was a series of deliberate, intelligent steps. He turned to Mr. Hayes, gratitude overflowing. He finally understood that his paycheck wasn't the goal, the strategy was. So what about you? Are you just going to work, save a little, and hope for the best? Or are you ready to take control? Think about Sam's story. Which of these 5 rules do you need to focus on first? Remember, learning isn't just about listening to a story. It's about applying the lessons to your own life. And just like you learned new ideas about money today, you also practiced English in a natural and engaging way. Stories are one of the most powerful tools to learn a language because they connect words to emotion and meaning. If this story helped you or if you learned a new word, please hit that like button and share it with a friend who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story. Let's keep learning and growing together, one story at a time. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.